simple. My son is so tall because he doesn't have any brains to weigh him down. Of course, my fondest recollection of my father was his wicked, sharp sense of humor and wit. He had a nickname for virtually everyone who crossed his path. Each of his children, his wife was Dookie Duck, every one of his 20 grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and if you weren't lucky enough to get your own nickname, you were simply known as
Clearhead.
Clearhead. We all have fond memories of Dad, whether it be his dapper attire, brilliantly combed back hair, or his sharp sense of humor. There was a strong chance you got to get a glimpse of his act. You see, his act was one that traveled. He loved to walk through South Philadelphia in a three-piece suit, handkerchief in place, hair perfectly groomed, and his dress shoes. And you know that had to hurt. It could be 105 degrees or 30 below, and his attire would not change except for an overcoat in the wintertime. Dad was the Forrest Gump of walking. He graced all the people of South Philadelphia, whether they liked it or not. Whether you were in Girard Estate, Packer Park, on Broad Street, up past Young, or from the Schuylkill of Delaware, he found you. And when he found you, he didn't let you go. You were bound to have to listen to a corny joke, story, a fable, or merely be called Clearhead on his travel onto the next lucky victim. See, Dad loved people. It didn't matter if you were a king or a commoner or halfway in between. He loved people from Yale to jail and back. Dad also loved his South Philadelphia Italian roots. No better way to show your love than never leave where you come from. Dad never left. Dad was born on Passyunk Avenue, across the street from what is now Mara's Pizza. It was always Mara's Pizzeria. He moved to 10th and Dickinson with my mother to her house. Oh,
Read it more.
Read it more. I'm sorry, 10th and Reed. Ma, you want to come up here and finish the speech? All right, and he spent the remainder of his years in Girard Estate. Dad loved his fellow Italians, Perry Como, Frank Sinatra, Al Martino, Dean Martin, Mario Lanza, Joe DiMaggio, Jody told me, Lou Monte, and Joe Montana and Dan Marino. Did I say that? And especially loved Thanksgiving and Mom's home-baked monogut and Scott All Soup. Mom, your Scott All Soup. We'll give your Scott All Soup a plug. Mom's famous homemade croutons in the Scott All and the meatballs made the soup. His other favorite day of the year, one of his other favorite days of the year, was Christmas Eve. As a devout Catholic, it signified the birth of Jesus. And to him, a new beginning. Time for family and friends to get together. He loved family and he loved friends. And it was a time, he always told me, this is a time to let bygones be bygones. No grudges. He loved the Italian tradition of the 7 fishes. But more important than this was Dad was so proud of his heritage that he loved to share his Italian heritage with all races and ethnicities. Both Mike and Rosie said it so well when they spoke. Dad was a man of inclusion. Our door and dinner table were open to all our friends and even strangers in need of a meal. On Thanksgiving and Christmas, Dad would share all aspects of our great Italian heritage so proudly with those unfamiliar to it. Whether it was Mom's monogut, Scott All, pizzelles, stuffed galamad, 7 fishes, Frank Sinatra, Perry Como, or just as simple as Italian wine, Dad was proud to introduce our Italian culture to those unfamiliar to it. And those very people would return year after year and become part of our extended family. Another very special time for Dad was Columbus Day. I remember as a young child, 4 or 5 years old, being carried on my father's shoulders in the Columbus Day parade. And year after year, Dad would never miss a Columbus Day event, whether it was a dinner, a mass, a communion breakfast or the parade itself. The second week of October was my dad's time to shine. He would proudly beam as he made his way from J&A Caterers down Broad Street to the podium in what is now Marconi Plaza. And I was lucky enough to walk with him on numerous occasions. It was then I learned Dad's love of people at 4 years old, 5 years old. He stopped to talk to virtually every person along the way. He genuinely knew almost every person and talked to them about their daily trials and tribulations. As an attorney, he represented a big chunk of South Philadelphia, especially within the Italian community, and when they couldn't afford him, he would represent them pro bono, for free. Money was never one of Dad's major concerns. He always told me the most important thing is to be able to put your head on your pillow at night and be able to get a good night's sleep. And sleep well he did every night of his life. My mother may not have because he snored a lot, but he slept well. This last year has been a whirlwind for the family with Dad's untimely demise, but there were some good points. We raised money for Dad's scholarship this year. We had a portrait dedication that was beautiful. Jamie McDermott led that. We had a garden dedication, which Jody did a fabulous job. Gear, their board, everybody involved. There were numerous anonymous gifts after Father's eulogy. There were numerous gifts that were anonymous and not so anonymous. I guess it's like Larry David. You know, you call the gift anonymous, but it really isn't because you kind of hear about it. But I never knew who was giving the gifts anyway. But also, Kathy Campione, if you look at your table, you can see the little card, the little baseball card of my father. Kathy Campione goes from school to school, dedicating books and the baseball cards in Dad's name, which is a beautiful thing, and we appreciate that, and we should give you a big round of applause for that. So many beautiful op-eds, stories have been written, and now this dedication. So many beautiful acts of kindness from our beloved Philadelphia, South Philadelphia, and brother and sister paisans in this room. The South Philadelphia Review asked me what Dad would say about all these wonderful acts of kindness. And I told them basically he would call us all a bunch of clearheads and say, enough already, that's enough, stop it. Because Dad was a humble man that never cared about accolades. He only cared about what was doing what was right. But deep down inside, I know that Dad would be beaming with pride. First and foremost, he'd be proud of his beautiful wife, Baby Rose, for all her courage and all her support that she gave him throughout the years. And he would also be very proud of all his children and grandchildren for their dignity and their cohesiveness and sticking together through this difficult period of time. He'd also be proud to be in all the prayers of his friends. And he would ask tonight where all his friends are from the spa. And he would then ask them to stand up. So could all his friends from the spa stand up? Now the spa was Dad's dinner club. Assembled of his friends from childhood. And they would go Thursday night to my brother Tommy Bones' restaurant at Chirella's, and they would eat, and they would, of course, Dad was a breaker, so he would break them, but they would break them back equally as good, especially Commissioner Rizzo, who's the best breaker of them all, I think. Bull breaker in the world. But they still have a picture of Dad they're still there every Thursday night. Dad sits at the head of the table, and they have a picture of him, and they have a bib on him because he was always very sloppy, so they have a bib on his bib. And he would say, further, he would say, I never seen so many clearheads at one table in my life. In the end, Dad would say thank you. he would say, thank you, Philadelphia. Thank you, South Philadelphia. He would say, thank you to the Italian community. Thank you, my friends. He would say, I could have never envisioned the outpouring of love and support that you have given to my family in their time of grief. And for that, he would say, I love you all. Thank you.
Before we call Father Kelly up to do grace, I just want to mention one more person who is been supportive of this parade and every Italian event that we've been doing for the last 25 years, and that's my husband, Victor Delamore. He does our posters, he does our letterhead, he does everything. And if you look in the room where the cocktails were, there's a film playing